because of algebra 1 start. All right. So, just in case you're not aware, you have no advisory today. You're staying here till 11:05. Okay, so obviously you should not need that long to do your homework. But they're doing STAR testing for Algebra 1. So our last 3 lessons, okay, this is your last little mini unit. Okay, you're gonna learn the equation for circles. So if you'll look up here at the top, okay, then next class we'll do something called an ellipse, which is just an oval, and then hyperbolas after that, and then you're done with pre-calc. So first thing, a circle is going to be a set of points that are all equal distance from a center point. Okay. So if you were to have, let's say, a particular center point, obviously this picture is not going to look perfect, but let's pretend, okay, that if you count the same distance around the circle wherever you go, okay, that is how you create a circle, is that no matter where you measure the distance from the middle to the outside, it should always be the same. Okay, that distance is called the, do you know? Radius. Very good. Okay, and like I said, no matter where you measure it, okay, the radius is that common distance from the center to the side. Okay, your equation formula is this. You're going to have a number with with x. You're going to have a number with y. And those 2 points together are going to create the center. Okay, then you're also going to have an r, which is going to tell you your radius. Okay, so this beginning part should be very easy. Take a look at number 1. Okay, the numbers with x and y are going to be the reverse of the actual x and y. So for example, if they put a -2 and a +3, my actual x is going to be +2 and -3. Now, if you remember for transformations, if it's in parentheses, you're always doing the opposite anyways. So that should kind of make sense. That if it's a minus, we're really going to go forward 2. And then if it's a plus, we're really going to go down 3. So go ahead and plot that center. Okay, the number that you see on the opposite side of the equals, this number is the r squared. And so if r squared is 9, what do I need to do to find the actual r? Okay. Just take the square root. It'll go to 3. So square root, my r is 3. So for you to graph your circle, I want you to start at your center. You're going to count 3 this way. 1, 2, 3, put a dot. 3 up. 1, 2, 3, put a dot. 3 down. 1, 2, 3, put a dot. And then 3 to the side. 1, 2, 3, put a dot. Okay, then you're just going to give it your best effort to make the circle. Okay, don't stress out about it looking perfect. Okay, but it should look about like that. Okay. All right, go on to number 2 when you're ready. There is no number with x. That means I am not going to move it side to side. What will my x be if I don't go left or right? 0. Then I have a -5 with my y, which means I'm really going to go which way? Up 5. So find 0, 5 on your grid. That's your center. And then if my r squared is a 4, what does that make my r? Take the square root. My r has to be 2. And then remember, you're just going to go to that center, go 2 each direction. Okay, up, down, left, right, and then draw your circle. So it'd be 2, 2, 2, 2, then draw it. Okay. All right, you should also be able to go backwards, that instead of starting with the equation, okay, and then mapping it, if you know the details about it, you should be able to write the equation. So take a look at number 3. If I want the center to be at -2, 1, what am I going to put with x if it's a -2? Down at the bottom, put an x plus 2. My y is a 1, but what am I going to put with y? -1. Okay, then now let's look at the rest of the formula. You want a plus in the middle, so put a plus here in the center. And then in order to make it a circle, you got to put a squared on both of those. So your x plus 2 gets a squared, your y minus 1 gets a squared. Okay, then on the other side, remember it's supposed to be r squared. So if my r is a 5, what would 5 squared be? 25, and that would be your equation. Okay. Then from there, you should also be able to graph it. So -2, 1 would be here, and then you just count 5 each direction, plot your circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Questions on that? All right, go ahead and turn the page. Maybe we'll do one more off of this. Let's do number 6. Number 6. So it says, find the equation of the circle with diameter endpoints 3, 6, and -5, 2. So go ahead and plot those points for me. 3, 6, and -5, 2. So 3, 6 is here. -5, 2 is here. Now it's telling me that that's the diameter. So if you remember, the difference is that radius is just halfway across the circle. Okay, your diameter is all the way across the circle. So if I know that my circle essentially needs to go like this, how can I find my center? And then cut it in half. Very good. So find how far it is. So I'm going to count the rise over run and then just half it. So for example, from here to here, I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. Then I'm only going to go how many up to get to the halfway point? 2 up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across means I'm only going to go 4 across. So like I said, if this is a 4 and an 8, then I'm going to count 2 and 4 to get to my middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes this my center point right here. Okay. Then from there, we're ready to write our center. What is the ordered pair for that center that you just wrote? -1, 4. Then that tells me the parentheses part of the equation. If my real x is a -1, I'm going to put an x plus 1. If my real y is a 4, I'm going to put a y minus 4. Because remember, it's always the opposite when you put it into parentheses. Then remember, plus in the middle, square, square. Plus in the middle, square, square. Okay, on the other side, I need to put the radius. Okay, but notice that because my diameter is kind of slanty, I need to figure out exactly how long this distance is. So if I know that this makes a triangle that's 2 by 4, can I find how long this third side is? Using what? Pythagorean theorem. Very good. So I'll do 2 squared plus 4 squared equals r squared. in your calculator, what's 2 squared plus 4 squared? 20. And then if 20 is r squared, then r is going to be the square root of 20. Now, will I put the square root of 20 here? I have to put regular 20. Here's why. It would be the square root of 20, but then I have to square it. And then what's going to happen with the square root and the square root? Cancel each other out. So really, this should just equal 20. Okay. Y'all kind of get the idea on that? Okay. There's one more thing we have to cover, so turn to the next page. Okay, the last thing that we're going to cover is what do you do if your equation isn't already in the parentheses format like we want it to be? Okay, so if you'll turn the page, please. Okay, you'll notice that your equations are written in this format, not the standard graphing form that we need them to be in. So you're going to use a tool called Complete the Square. Okay, you probably haven't done this since Algebra 2. Okay, but I'll remind you how to do it. It's really not that hard. So first thing you're going to do is organize your x's together and your y's together. So I see that I have an x squared. What's my next x term? The 8x. Then I want you to leave a blank. Okay, now we're going to do our y terms. I have a y squared and a what? Minus 6y. Leave a blank. And then if you have a number by itself that technically it doesn't count as an x or a y, you're just going to move it across to the other side. So the number that I'm talking about for that would be this minus 24. I'm just going to add it across to the other side. Now it's a positive 24. Okay. Now we're ready to complete the square. When you complete the square, you're going to take only one of the x's and half of what the number is on the second x. So if it's an 8x, what's half of that? 4. So I'm going to do x plus 4. Okay, now, before we keep going, I want you to think about, did I perfectly replace this? And if not, I'm going to have to fill in this blank. So let's think about it. If I did x plus 4 twice, because remember, this is the format I needed in for a circle. That's x plus 4 times x plus 4. Just write it real small below that. Let's FOIL it out and see if it's a perfect substitution or if we're going to have to go back and put something in the blank. X times x is what? X squared. Then I'm going to have x times 4 is a 4x. 4 times x is another 4x. And then 4 times 4 is what? 16. Very good. Now, out of those terms, what was already there? Was the x squared already there? Yes. Was the 4x and the 4x already there?
Yeah.
Because there was already an 8x, but what was missing? Then to complete the square, you're going to fill in the blank with a plus 16. Now, normally I would not go through this every time, just square this number. So 4 squared gives me 16. That's what I'm going to fill in the blank with. Now, if you're going to plus 16 on this side, you need to also plus 16 on this side. We're going to do the exact same thing for y. I can only take one of the y's from the y squared, and I can only take half of the minus 6. What's half of minus 6? Minus 3. Then to fill in the blank, what's 3 squared? Then fill in the blank with a plus 9 and then a plus 9 on the other side. Now, in case you're wondering, well, wait, it was negative. Remember, -3 times -3 still gives you a plus 9. So you're never going to fill in this blank with a minus. Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because if you're going to add it on one side to write it like this, you have to do it on the other side. You are simplifying it, but remember, this wasn't originally in the problem. There wasn't a plus 16 up here. So if we're adding that to write it this way, then we have to add it to the other side as well. Okay, then from there in your calculator, can you just add these guys up? 49. Then you have your equation. Okay, and then from that, you can find your center, you can find your radius, you can graph your circle. So without us actually graphing at this time, can you just tell me what would the center be? What kind of 4? -4, comma, +3. What would my radius be? 7. Get the idea? All right, let's do one more like that. Go ahead and start off number 9. So group your X's together, leave them with a little blank. Group your Y's, leave them with a little blank. And then remember, if you have a number that's not an X or a Y, it's got to go across the other side. So we have X squared what? -2X. Don't forget your blank. Y squared plus 6Y. Don't forget your blank. And then equals, if it's a -6 moving over, now it's a +6. For my complete this square on X, what will I put with X in the parentheses if it has to be half of the middle number? Half of 2 is 1, so it'd be an X -1. Then remember to fill in the blank, I just ask myself, what's 1 squared? What's 1 times 1 again? 1 times 1 is a +1, and then a +1 across. For my Y's, remember, I can only take half of this middle term. So if there are 6 in the middle, what's half of that? Y +3. And then remember, I'm going to fill in the blank with whatever 3 squared is. What's 3 squared? Then I'll go back and put a +9 here and even it out with a +9 on the other side. Then from there, you're adding these 3 guys up to see what your R squared is. What will that come out to be? 16. Because the 1 and the 9 will give you the 10 plus 6 more. Then from there, identify your center and your radius. What would it be? 1, -3. And your radius would be. Okay, and then obviously graph it if you can, but if you want to. Okay. We're not gonna work another one all the way through, but will you please look at number 10? You can only graph a circle if or do the complete the square thing that I just showed you. Okay, if you do not have a number in front of your X squared or your Y squared. So if I were to do number 10, what would I have to do first? Look at all the numbers there. What can they all divide by? 2. Then if you can divide by 2 on both sides, you can kind of fix that problem. So for this one, 2 divided by 2 gives me a regular X squared. What would the next term be that I would divide by 2? Because remember, I want to put them in order. The 12X, divide that by 2. Now that's a 6X. Don't forget your blank. Then my 2Y squared divided by 2. Now it's a regular Y squared, which is what I want. And then the -16Y, what would that go to? 8Y. Don't forget your blank. And then notice that on this one, the -18 is already crossed over. Then I wouldn't change it to a positive. If it's already in the right spot, you're going to leave it how it is. Now still divided by 2, but -18 divided by 2 would be -9. And then from there, you would complete the square. So I guess we may as well just finish it since it's short. What's half of 6 in the middle? X +3. What do I fill in the blank with? 3 squared would be 3 times 3 is a +9. For my Y's, I have a -8. What's half of that? -4. What do I fill in the blank with? 4 times 4 is always plus on that, so +16. And then what happens if you have a 9 and a -9? Those are just gonna cross out and leave me with just the 16 left over. And then, like I said, for your homework, it's gonna ask you to type in the center and then to type in the R, which I feel like we've done a pretty good job. Got it? All right, it's 9:30. You have an hour and a half. Okay, so your homework is on Delta Math as usual, and I'll bring you scratch paper if you want it. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I have to unlock it. Sorry.